Hi, I'm Terrence Bird. At Health First New Jersey, we believe everyone should be informed about the important healthcare issues that affect them and their families. That's why Health First is proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation.
Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and banking under the principle of stewardship. PSE&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. And by the law firm of Gibbons PC.
This is One-on-One.
That's good acting, man.
I get that a lot. I go to Atlantic City all the time, like, are you the guy? I go, no, I'm not.
This is one you can't afford to miss.
They thought that I wouldn't survive it, but I knew I would.
I'm Steve Adubato. More importantly, I'm going to introduce you to a guest who's involved in an extremely important fight, and he is Brian Lang, Director of Supermarket Campaign with the Food Trust. Good to see you, Brian.
Morning, Steve.
This is a fight, is it not?
Absolutely.
There's a battle. And there is a dearth, if you will, of supermarkets in urban areas, particularly in the state of New Jersey, in places like Newark and Camden and Trenton, and the Food Trust dealing with this. What is the Food Trust?
We're a not-for-profit organization based out of Philadelphia. We got started in 1992 out of Reading Terminal Market. And we started out running small farmers markets in the city of Philadelphia because we found that a lot of the low-income communities of the city were without supermarkets or healthy food retailers, and we really wanted to do something about it.
And the supermarket campaign is?
The supermarket campaign is an effort we've undertaken for over 10 years now to call attention to the fact that there are fewer supermarkets in low-income communities than there are more affluent places in a city like Philadelphia. And what we've tried to do is to get the public sector and other influential stakeholders to do something about it by providing incentives to supermarkets and healthy food retailers that want to invest in some of those underserved communities.
In this report, Expanding New Jersey Supermarkets, a New Day for the Garden State, very important report. By the way, you'll see online throughout the entire segment the Food Trust website. Go on it, get access to this report. It is very important. It not only talks about the seriousness of the problem, why there are so few supermarkets, why it is so difficult to open supermarkets in urban areas, but also some of the recommendations as to how to move forward and improve that situation, and the role of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, big here, correct?
Absolutely. They've invested $12 million in the reinvestment fund to provide financial incentives to bring new and expanded supermarkets to underserved communities. Like I said, places like Camden and Newark.
Let's talk about this. What are some of the biggest challenges that you found that are documented in the report, Brian, as to opening supermarkets in places like Newark, Trenton, and Camden? Why so hard?
Well, it's a real challenge because building costs in the inner city are just a lot higher than they might be in suburban areas. There aren't as many parcels of land that are suitable for a supermarket development. And to get a parcel of land suitable for a supermarket together can take years, and you have to cobble together lots of irregular pieces of land. And it's just expensive. It's more expensive than starting a similar store out in the suburbs. Also, once a store is ready to open up for business, some of their costs of doing business in the inner city are higher. For example, their insurance costs can be a little higher.
Why?
And it's just more expensive to insure a business in the inner city. And that drives up a supermarket operator's cost of doing business, which makes it more difficult for them to justify the investment in the first place.
What about labor?
What about labor? Labor is comparable.
Is it comparable?
It's comparable. However, workforce development costs, the cost of training your staff, can be more expensive because the skills that potential employees could bring to an urban supermarket are not necessarily the same sets of skills that people in other communities would have.
Okay. Tough to open up a supermarket. Which, and by the way, let's talk about why it is so important to have.
Sure.
Before we talk about some of the recommendations to deal with it, this serious problem. Why is it so important? I was born and raised in Newark, and I know when I go back to my old neighborhood, there is not the same supermarket that was in that neighborhood. It has not been there for 25 years. In my hometown of Montclair, there are supermarkets all over. Explain to folks who may not understand it, what is the impact when a community does not have a supermarket?
Well, when people don't have access to a supermarket, a lot of research has found that they tend to eat fewer fruits and vegetables, and they're less likely to maintain a healthy weight. And that is really important here in our country today. In 2008, the cost of treating obesity in the U.S. was $147 billion. So this is a problem that it's worth getting a handle on, and improving people's access to healthy food is one way to do that.
Now, in the report that people can get online if they go onto the Food Trust website, it talks about this. What are some of the specific recommendations that are documented in the report that you found that attempt to deal with? There is no quick fix, there's no magic bullet. What are some of the things that can improve the situation?
Well, for starters, we call on the state of New Jersey to just prioritize supermarket development for sort of the comprehensive development of communities. You know, think about having access to healthy food retail when you're revitalizing a city like Camden or like Newark.
Time out. What does that mean for the state of New Jersey to prioritize?
Well,
state government?
It means a number of things. You know, economic development folks in the state should think about supermarkets as one good use of some of the tools they have available to attract, you know, all sorts of businesses here to the state of New Jersey. You know, it also calls upon not just state government, but, you know, folks at charitable foundations to do what they can to bring supermarkets to communities that don't have them. And you know, that recommendation that's in the report is part of what resulted in the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation's investment in the reinvestment fund.
So it's so interesting. People will say, you know, what is government going to do about this? It's not going to happen by itself, is it?
No, you'd also need supermarket operators themselves to look at a city like Camden, look at a city like Newark, look at what the state and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and others are doing, and say that they really want to make a go at starting a new business in a city like Camden or Newark.
You know, I'm thinking about this, and I know it's not a recommendation in the report, at least not one that I saw. But I always think about the media. I always think about the role that we play, particularly in public television, because that's where my mind goes here. And I'm not going to say full disclosure, because you saw at the beginning of this program that the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation is in part underwriting this programming, the programming that attempts to inform the public about these issues. But I always ask the question, what is the role that we have to play here? And I don't just mean television. I'm talking about all the different information platforms out there, including the internet. Is there a role for us?
Well, I think in the media, you have an opportunity to be a voice for people in communities who oftentimes don't have perhaps a loud enough voice in the public discourse, and bring to the attention of everybody some of the challenges they face. For example, in this particular issue with regards to health challenges and how the food available to them in the communities where they live is part of what's driving some of the health problems those people encounter. So it's really that awareness raising and that, you know, focusing both just people's attention, but also you know, the government's attention on this as an issue, an important issue.
It's one of the reasons, by the way, folks, when you log onto our website and you put it up right there, our website, if you can, our sister program, New Jersey Capital Report, which is our public policy program, we do a lot of programming related to this issue. Go onto that website, see some of those interviews with state legislators and others trying to deal with these related issues, including with members of the state legislature responsible for dealing with this. Final question before I let you out here. The report came out in April of 2012.
Correct.
Describe the response.
Oh, the response has been great. There was a lot of attention the report received in the media, and you know, the report was released at an event at the site of this fresh grocer that's getting built in New Brunswick. Speakers at the report's release included Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno,
is that right?
And some senior folks from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, the Reinvestment Fund, and people who helped us write the report, the New Jersey Food Marketing Task Force. A couple speakers from Food Circus Supermarkets and the Women's Fund of New Jersey.
One of the pieces there, when you mentioned Kim Guadagno, I think about the Economic Development Authority, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, who is, they're getting it. In fact, as we do this program, Michelle Brown is taking over there from a long-time leader there, Karen Franzini. It's going to be interesting to see the role they play moving forward, because they've been very involved in some of these initiatives?
They've been very involved in this effort. They were one of the earliest investors in the Reinvestment Fund and their effort to bring supermarkets to underserved places in New Jersey. They also gave us a small grant to do some of this work as well. So New Jersey's Economic Development Authority has been very supportive of this work. And without their leadership, I don't know that we'd be on the cusp of announcing such great things as we are right now.
We are all in this together and we all need each other. The report is called Expanding New Jersey Supermarkets, A New Day for the Garden State. Brian Lang, Director of Supermarket Campaign, the Food Trust, doing important work. And by the way, before we get out of here, there's really important work going on in Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania, the state of New York. They have made real progress here. The Food Trust has been working there. We are far behind in the state of New Jersey. We have a lot of work to do. Thank you very much, Brian. Right?
Thank you very much, Steve. Right.
We'll be right back right after this. Stay tuned.
Thanks.
I just want to make.
If you would like more information on this program, or if you'd like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Visit us online at oneonone.org. Or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD.
Dr. Don Sebastian is Senior Vice President for Research and Development at NJIT, that is New Jersey Institute of Technology. Good to see you, Doctor.
Good to see you again, Steve, and thanks for having me on today.
Well, it is an honor and a pleasure. So much going on. The Enterprise Development Center, right?
Correct.
I want to try to make this come alive. There's so much going on at NJIT. I want to talk about the fact that even though there are 3 themes going on at the Enterprise Development Center, sustainable systems, converging life sciences and engineering, and digital everywhere, that can sound incredibly jargony to people.
Sure.
What I want to do is talk about 3 companies that embody these 3 areas.
Perfect.
Right? Break it down. I throw out the company, you make sense of it. How about Watts Lots LLC? What is Watt Lots LLC?
So it's an interesting company created by a graduate from our School of Architecture who has a concept for a different approach to deploying solar panels. We all think of solar energy as glass panels on the roof. He has a much more flexible concept. If you think of fat Venetian blinds, maybe about a foot wide, that you could put on a stanchion on a canopy, like in an S-shape, to go in parking lots, because we have 500 billion square feet of open surface parking in the United States. If we could harness that energy, that's 5 times more than the commercial roof space in the entire world. You could be using that not only as a place of producing electric power for our current needs, for recharging the future of electric vehicles, but he also envisions it as a node for telecommunications, for e-commerce. So you imagine now, not only can you pull into the Bridgewater Mall and plug in your car to recharge while you're shopping, but as you're coming in, your PDA, your iPhone, your Android is an instant communication giving you advice on where the best deal is for the things that you're shopping for.
Well, hold on, because the Enterprise Development Center at NJIT is home to 86 high-tech and life science companies. This is one of those companies, right?
Yes, it is.
Now, this company, Watt Lots, is tied to which one of these themes? Is it, I feel like I'm doing a game show. Is it sustainable systems, converging life sciences and engineering, or digital everywhere?
Sustainable systems for 800, yes. Right? So we posture it that way because the whole idea of satisfying our energy need, our heavy demand, as we get more mechanized, as we require more for our lifestyle, and as the rest of the world comes on board, as developing nations want to come in and not reproduce and recreate the industrial evolution.
That's right.
They want to come in at the top of the game as well.
Sustainable.
Yeah, and now on top of that, we have an explosion in population growth. So how are we going to satisfy all of that? Well, clearly, one of the important contributions we think is solar energy.
Give me another company.
Okay, so the big news in most science, the real frontier, is what we call the convergence of life science.
Convergence of life science.
And engineering and physical sciences. So for a long time, the study of biology and of living things has been so complicated and so difficult to penetrate that the physical sciences, the chemistry, physics, mathematics, they were off in their own world, and engineering for a large extent has turned industries to be based on those. Petroleum industry based on chemistry, for example. Right? We have telecommunications based on physics, electricity, and magnetism. But biology is always sort of sought out over here, Now that we're beginning to understand the basis of life, right, from the insides out, from the protein chemistry of DNA, we begin to be able to tackle the problem from the top down and the bottom up, and very importantly, now be able to model things, to be able to understand from basic fundamental principles, not just cause and effect.
And a company comes out of that?
And so in this case, we have a company that's bringing the world of advanced materials. We've grown in this country tremendously. In fact, here in New Jersey, we started, believe it or not, the plastics industry. The very first commercial plastics were created by an inventor named George Bakelin. Bakelite was the substance that was used for electric plugs and insulators and pushed not only consumer electronics but automotive starting in the beginning of the 1900s, produced in Perth Amboy. That company grew and became Union Carbide. Union Carbide is now Dow.
Talk about incubators.
Well, see?
Give me the company now.
So now the company, Endomedics, has found
Endomedics hydrogel technology.
Exactly. They're able to take natural sugars and create a spray-on wound sealant to be used in surgery.
A spray-on wound sealant.
And this will seal off what, you know, you never see on TV when they cut you open, there seems to be no blood, right? Well, but in fact, everything you cut, not only will your skin bleed, but if you do brain surgery now, as you cut through the brain, you've got all of these exposed cuts that have to be healed up, have to be staunch the blood flow before you get down to the business of doing the surgery. 15 minutes of direct pressure or more often. They're able to spray on a substance that's naturally derived in 15 seconds, completely seals off the wound. Well, you can imagine the consequences, right? You have much less time open for infection or other problems to cause. You shorten the length of time on the surgical table. You reduce the time under anesthetic. You increase the efficient use of the surgical theater so you can get more patients in and out. It just propagates.
And all this happened in NJIT. Students are involved in this, right?
Absolutely. So we have 300 students who are engaged by incubator companies. 300 students? 300 of our students
engaged in some of these 86 companies.
Yes, and very often they stick. Right? So Endomedics is a good example. Some of their research scientists are our graduates who began doing internships as students and have stuck with the company.
Totally involved. Give me one more company. Is it iSpeech?
iSpeech is a wonderful
Give me
example.
1 minute on iSpeech.
So iSpeech, many people may know from their product called Drive Safely. BlackBerry was giving it away for free for a while. It's something that will read your emails to you with a natural voice. And they've gone from that starting point to a whole set of products that will translate text to speech, but also understand speech. So as our electronic devices get smaller and harder to deal with and harder to peck on the keyboard, not only is it a safety issue, it really becomes very difficult to communicate with a computer using touch typing. So now you can speak to it. And even better, they can now make it speak back in anybody's voice. So in fact, if you send me an email, it can have stored your voice print in there and it will come back to me in your voice. And now here's something even cooler. They can do it multilingual. So you can imagine your show, while we're sitting here talking, would be instantly translated and it could be seen in China and you would be speaking Chinese but with your voice.
How much do you love your work?
Oh, I love it. I say it's like Forrest Gump, you know, that life is like a box of chocolates. Well, EDC is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to find when you open a door. It's really very exciting.
And EDC is the Enterprise Development Center at NJIT, home to nearly 86 high-tech and life science companies. It is amazing work going on the campus of New Jersey Institute of Technology. Dr. Don Sebastian, Senior Vice President of Research and Development at NJIT, I want to thank you for joining us. You have just begun a series of conversations we will have with you and your colleagues talking about what is going on at an amazing place. Thank you very much, Don.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Stay tuned, one-on-one. We'll be right back right after this. Amazing.
If you would like more information on this program or if you'd like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Visit us online at oneonone.org. Or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. The following A+ for Education segment has been brought to you by the New Jersey Education Association.
George Morgan is a retired teacher, except you'll find out how retired in a second. Co-chair of the Environmental Education Committee of the Friends of Edwin Forsythe National Wildlife Refuge. How you doing?
Oh, pretty good.
You're not a retired teacher. When did you officially retire? After 36 years in the classroom?
Close to 5 years ago.
Except you were on the couch for about a week, and what did you realize?
this isn't for me.
No, by the way, let's let everyone know. We're about to see a piece of video in a second about the organization. Tell everyone what the Friends of Edwin B. Forsythe National Wildlife Refuge is all about. What is it?
It's a volunteer organization. We support the Edwin B. Forsythe National Wildlife Refuge in educational programs, class trip visitations.
There's a part of your life,
like
but
that.
you were volunteering when you were a teacher.
Yes.
For these guys.
Yes.
36 years in the classroom. So Mr. Morgan, who is also a track and field coach, loves it, passionate, one of the many great teachers as part of this initiative. We're doing Classroom Close-Up in cooperation with our partners at the New Jersey Education Association. Take a look at this video, tells you about the organization and tells you about this guy, and then we'll come back to talk to the retired teacher. We'll be back after this.
Who remembers the big oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico? And it was some job to try to clean up, wasn't it?
As a retired science teacher, George Morgan continues to care about the environment, so much so that he volunteers his time teaching young students about wildlife and conservation.
So you're gonna make the boom first. It's gonna look like this.
It's like sucking up like the oil and maybe a little bit of the water.
Today, George and several other volunteers from the Friends of Forsythe, a nonprofit organization that operates a wildlife refuge in Atlantic County, are performing science experiments that teach these third graders about oil spills.
The first experiment, we used a aluminum cake pan where we simulated the Gulf of Mexico. Put food coloring in the water, we took Wesson oil, and we put black poster paint in it to make it look like oil.
I see the water going.
And I see some of the blue stuff.
Yeah.
We had each group build what we call an oil boom. That's what they use in the industry when they try to clean up. It's like a float that they can try to wrap around the oil spill itself and contain it.
Not oil at all water.
So they use the inquiry method to compare their results to other groups and come to a conclusion as to what the best material was. The effects of an oil spill like this, with millions and millions of gallons, goes all through the environment.
What it does for my children is that it gives them hands-on experience from experts who know a lot of information about the various species of animals and nature in our area. So I just think it's a great opportunity for them to learn.
An oil spill is a problem because, like, it's bad for the environment. Mr. Morgan and his friends taught us that cleaning a bird would help the environment.
Oil spill happened a long ways away, the other side of the country as far as they're concerned, and a lot of them do not understand what really happened. And it was just a little bit to show them with a hands-on project of what people went through. There were thousands of people went down to Louisiana to clean up the birds and so forth, and they had a small sampling of what happened.
If they learn one thing that will help one animal or one aspect of the environment, it's a positive.
Imagine doing a whole bird. This is just one feather.
How much do you love being in front of those kids?
It never left since I left the classroom.
What do you mean?
Every day is just as exciting as the next. It was nice to do labs such as this where the kids, you saw them cleaning up the bird feather. Well, we used poster paint and oil, and we tried different detergents and things, and we found out our conclusion was that Dawn worked the best, and that's what they use. Now, we had them do one feather, then we showed them a picture of, say, like a pelican. They're fairly large birds. Try cleaning one of those, and it's not going to sit there.
You are a science teacher deep in your heart, are you not?
Yes.
Deep in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Am I misunderstanding or miscalculating? But when you were watching that video, was that somewhat emotional for you?
Very nice. Nice to see the kids respond. And
what do you mean nice to see the kids respond? I mean, you've been doing this, I'm not being you know, I'm playing devil's advocate, but I'm being very serious right now. What do you say to those who say, come on, you did it for 36 years, it's been 5 years since you officially retired, that means 41 years. How could you still get the same gut, visceral level reaction to see kids when they're learning and their eyes are opening up and they understand and you help do that? How could you still get that deep, deep emotional reaction? How do you do that?
It's different with every student. It's different with every group. And as you feel out the situation, you try to contact and work with what their interests are.
Is that the key to being a great teacher?
I try to put myself in their shoes.
What do you mean?
As a student, I don't know about this topic. Please help me to understand. And you try to convey that message the best you can.
Is there a place for retired teachers to continue to make a contribution as educators?
There are a lot of, I know of a lot of things like what I'm doing. There's
right.
Down in Ocean County, we have a lot of openings. We have the Caddis Island. They're always looking for volunteers. There's another nature center in Tuckerton. It's Tuckerton Seaport, always looking for volunteers to help and do basically the same things that we're doing there.
Before I let you go, I'm going to ask you this. What do you say to those who really don't know and appreciate the value of public school teachers? What do you say? What's the impact?
It's kind of a tough thing now. The public may be getting different views.
What do you say?
What do I say? I think we do a fine job.
How important are teachers in children's lives?
Very important. You look at, I mean, I've seen students of mine go on and become doctors. I've seen, and it's a personal pride to meet up or to hear from a parent, oh, you were my son's teacher and he's...
Well, you make a big difference. Thank you.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been provided by Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and banking under the principle of stewardship. PSE&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities. And by the law firm of Gibbons PC. Promotional support provided by NJ Biz, All Business, All New Jersey. And by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association and its monthly magazine, New Jersey Business. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.
Hello, I'm Rafael P. Roman.
And I'm Steve Adubato.
Join us every week on New Jersey Capitol Report.
Because we'll ask the questions that you want and need answered.